isn't that the point of sustainability? We're trying to do more with less. It's fine if we want to do some of these environmental programs, but my question to you is are you both environmentally sustainable and fiscally sustainable?
Welcome to the very first episode of Stories That Move, brought to you by DreamOn Studios. I'm Mason Geiger, CEO and co-founder of DreamOn, and alongside me is Matt Duell, my co-pilot in this journey of storytelling, as well as our executive producer and co-founder here at DreamOn. Matt, how are you feeling about kicking things off today?
Man, I am beyond excited to be launching Stories That Move. You see, in our everyday world, we have the privilege of interviewing just some incredible people, and we get to hear their whole story. Yet so often, so much of that is left on the cutting room floor because we're making short form content for our clients. So what got us so excited about Stories That Move was the opportunity for us to pull back the curtain and hear so much more of the story.
And speaking of stories, today's episode, we are chatting with Zach Tucker from Maple Leaf Farms. Zach and I go way back, and it's been incredible to see the journeys we've embarked on since those early days. Zach's story is a testament to the legacy of family, innovation, and a commitment to sustainability.
So without further ado, let's launch this thing and dive into our conversation with Zach Tucker.
Well, hey, so we are so excited to have Zach Tucker on Stories That Move. This is our inaugural show, kicking this thing off.
Thanks, guys. I'm honored, honestly.
Yeah, we are so excited for this. Kind of, Zach, if you could just give us, for our listeners who might not know you or they're new to your story, could you just give us a brief overview of your journey, what life looks like for you?
So, Zach Tucker, I am the Director of Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility at Maple Leaf Farms. Maple Leaf, we're North America's largest producer of duck, but we're right here in Kosciuszko County. So Leesburg is our headquarters, and we still have operations in Milford. And several other counties too. We're over in Cromwell, we're up in Syracuse, Manchester, you name it, and a few other places around the country. But Kosciuszko County is certainly home, and I find myself in this interesting position now. It's kind of where the world's going as far as this corporate social responsibility, sustainability side is concerned.
Yeah.
So your question being was kind of how I've got here, right?
Give us a little back us up to your journey.
My journey, well,
family life, all that.
Take us back to the beginning.
All the way to the beginning.
Day one.
Wow.
You see the light.
So for me growing up, right, the Maple Leaf Farms we're a family business. I have the benefit of being a part of the fourth generation of this company. My great grandfather, Don Wenzel, founded it in 1958. He had accounts, he worked up in the Chicago Board of Trade, worked for a company called Redcomb Feed in Chicago. And one of his accounts were out in Long Island, New York. And what happened was he, if you know anything about Long Island, that's where ducks were first domesticated in the United States, on a large scale.
Yeah, okay.
And one thing that he thought to himself is, what the heck? Why are we doing this out here on Long Island? I mean, even on the agricultural side of it all, it was still extremely expensive real estate. The infrastructure there was not good, and road systems were non-existent for the type of equipment they were trying to get in. And they had a barge feed in there, believe it or not. And he's like, this is crazy. They're spending an arm and a leg to do this. Why couldn't we just bring it back here to the Midwest where all the food's being grown? So we did that in 58, purchased a farm up in Milford, where that's still our original location where we started, and got some ducks, and the rest is history, as you say, and here we are. Well, we jump forward a few generations. My grandfather took over 10 years. Unfortunately, my great-grandfather passed away of a heart attack 10 years after founding it. My grandfather took over, Terry Tucker, and then my dad and uncle, Scott Tucker and John Tucker, respectively, are currently co-presidents. My dad's slated to take over as CEO at the beginning of this next fiscal year. And then here we are. We've got, 5 G4 members now in it, myself and my sister and 3 of my cousins now.
Wow.
So
cool.
it's a family affair. It really is. So as far as my journey, I didn't really ever want to be in the business. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I really did not. I was like, do I really want to be a part of this?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, were you in 4-H when you were younger, or FFA? I'm like, no, I wanted nothing to do with that. And it's funny because I'm like, well, wait, you're part of one of the larger ag firms around here, and you want that? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm doing my own thing, right? I said I want to be a doctor. I want to do something like that, and went to school. That was my original intention, and then from there I moved past that to say physical therapy, training, things like that, and then I had a couple internships at Maple Leaf, and I realized very quickly how proud I was of what we had built there as this legacy, this tradition, and I kind of flipped a switch in my mind. Like, wait a second, this sounds awesome. I do want to be a part of this. And I think it was halfway through my junior year of college. I'm like, well, let's move away from physical therapy and let's go into agriculture. Let's go into animal sciences.
Wow.
So.
Wow. And what were you at Purdue at the time?
At
was
Purdue.
That okay?
Yep. So I graduated from Purdue in 2012. 4.5 year track.
That's not bad for
there's a lot of
going from physical therapy into agriculture.
Yeah,
and adding only a half year.
It was a very drastic switch, but it worked out. I was able to get out there relatively quickly. So animal sciences, animal agribusiness in particular, and then I got an opportunity to start working with the business. I did any number of things from like research coordination within the business to auditing, animal auditing, things like. We can talk some more about that as far as some of that sustainability journey in a moment. And then from there, I've overseen things like our compliance program, labeling, retention programs, efficiencies, HR related stuff. And now I find myself here. So that's about 11 years, almost 11 years later.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Crazy. And then you went back for your master's, correct?
So so right now I went back for my master's, and some people might call me crazy, because I had a less than a 1-year-old at the time, or I had a 1-year-old at the time when I started, and then let's add another child on top of it while I'm still doing the program.
Wow.
So it's a program through the Purdue Center for Food and Agribusiness, and it's actually a dual master's program. You come out with a master's in ag econ from Purdue, and then you get an MBA from Kelley School of Business at IU.
Wow.
So I'm currently in my final term for the IU MBA. So December, amazing. That'll all be done.
There you go.
Incredible. Nice. Nice.
I'm excited.
That's
very
awesome.
Impressive.
So starting off, you obviously the family business was a huge part of your family. I'm sure you were surrounded by it. You're thinking, I don't want to go this direction. And then you have this pivot. So talk to us about how that family legacy really just shaped you and kind of, maybe even steered your direction to make that pivot.
That, the legacy, I've always been somewhat of a traditional individual in the sense of I appreciate why certain things are being done a certain way if there's a reason for it. And I felt like what we stood for, what we stand for as a business, we're standing for a quality product that we're trying to provide, and we want to feed people too, right? That's certainly for me. If you want to talk about like a type of love language, if that is a type of love language, right? It's like, get me in the kitchen, right? Like that. I hate cooking for myself, but you got my family involved.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a second. I'll whip something up for you. Don't worry. So. But yeah, some of that, those stories we've told over the year, like the meals, I always think about, Christmases or Thanksgivings with the family, and, all those times where you're like, oh, like these are the types of things that we're trying to promote as a business, right? These family opportunities, these opportunities to have fellowship with, whether it be friends, family, you name it. So
just bringing people together.
That was probably one of the biggest things. Is I'm like, this is what we stand for, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I felt like it was just a bigger thing than myself, in that regard. And I think beyond that, maybe looking in this role now, and I've always thought to myself, as far as a business is concerned, some people might say, hey, isn't the point of a business to make a profit. I mean, and while yes, that is very important, I would say that you have to do that. Otherwise, you can't do anything else, right?
Yeah.
You can't. You have to make sure you are financially, sound. So, but I'm like, well, if you have this opportunity, especially as community partners, why can't you take this business and utilize it as a vehicle for benefiting the community, benefiting your people, so on and so forth. So I try and look beyond that, and then just other than it being the legacy of the business, but what's the legacy of our family within the community, within our industry, so on and so forth. So
I love just like hearing like your heart and passion for the community. I mean, growing up here, it's like this is your home, and so like wanting to see our community grow and prosper, and it's like being a part of that is incredible. So, and I know that you are very passionate about sustainability in your job. So let me get this right. So your job title is, so you're the director of sustainability and corporate social responsibility.
Yes. So
Can you unpack what all is entailed in that?
It is a very convoluted title. I know it's you get some people, I swear, that like really like those long titles, and I'm just like, I was trying to find, can we abbreviate this somewhere? Like, well, are people gonna know what that is? I'm like, fine, whatever.
Your business card is extra large.
I'm like, what is this? Yes, this is an 8x10. It's just so sustainability, right? Like with sustainability and then CSR, I think what you've seen is kind of this push towards, a term called ESG. It stands for environmental social governance, right? And depending on who you talk to, you might say, oh, ESG is the best. And then you have other people like, this is the worst. And I like to find myself somewhere in the middle between that. I think there's been a lot of really bad things that have been done with ESG. You're looking at even companies being judged based upon this, especially like public companies being based upon these ESG scores. You think about like Silicon Valley Bank was one of those that was really heavy on the ESG. They were very invested in more like the environmental, social side of things. But if you look at their governance score, it was not good. And there's a reason why they went under. It's because they were not actually making sure that they were making money properly. They were not getting returns on investment, which as a bank, they should be looking to do that always. That's again, I said it earlier, profit is very important. If you can't get a profit, you can't do all these other things that you want to do. So you got to make sure your house is right first before, you can go out and change the world, right? Yeah. So anyway, I actually always say I should have been like GSE or GES or something like that, because governance needs to come first when it comes to those sort of things. So ESG, you can look at it that way as far as, the environmental sustainability side of things. You want to make sure that we're being good stewards always, right? I would say that as farmers, as people in the ag side of things, for the most part, we are pretty darn good stewards. We're trying to do always more with less. And so I want to repeat that, more with less.
Yeah.
So when it comes to sustainability, isn't that the point of sustainability? We're trying to do more with less. And it's fine if we want to do some of these environmental programs, but my question to you is are you both environmentally sustainable and fiscally sustainable?
Yeah.
Because if you can't do both, if you're spending crazy amounts of money, I think about wind turbines, right? How much money those things cost to put up? Are you ever getting a return on those is my question to you. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the numbers lately. Maybe it's improved as they've become more prevalent, but I know very early on it was not the case. It would take 20 plus years to pay them off, and they're probably replacing a lot of parts by then. So trying to stay away from those greenwashing things, those fake environmentalism type items. I want tangible, real environmentalism and sustainability if we're going to do those
things that have a real impact.
Real impact and real return. Because again, sustainability and environmentalism, we should be doing more with less, right? More with less. And so I'll give you an example. People sit there and think about, ag, we're polluting things, or we're using all these natural resources, whether that be water, whether that be feed, whether corn, soybean, wheat, you name it. Okay. So let's we'll step back to 1979, 80, 1980, when we started really focusing on our breeding program, right? So in animal ag, the purpose of a breeding program is to do a couple things. One, you're trying to increase your yields based upon the best possible animals that you have, and you're doing this in varying levels of success depending on how much resources you have. Like for example, we have a geneticist that on staff who we can trace back our lineage with our ducks 30 years, 30 plus,
No
40
way.
years. I kid you not. We can trace all of our breeding ducks back like 30, 40 years.
Ancestry.com for the ducks.
For the ducks, that's right.
Amazing.
So,
I love that.
So you think about this. He's looking for how can we improve not only the traits and like the yield of the bird, how can they be a little bit bigger, those sort of things. Naturally, I need to point out this is a breeding program. We're not doing Frankenduck here, okay? That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
But breeding, but then we're also looking at how can we get them more efficient. So if we look back in 1979, it was taking anywhere from 50, depending on the strain. And I say strain, it's essentially a breed within a breed. Like they're the same breed, but they're different. Like that, it's like you or I. Like we're both humans, but we're like a different strain, essentially, a different lineage or something. Yep. So depending on the strain, it could be 50 to 60 days for them to get to market weight back in 1979, 80.
Yeah.
They would have feed conversion. So feed conversion essentially means the amount of feed that they have to eat in order to get a pound of gain.
Okay.
So back then, we're looking at probably anywhere from 3 to 4.5, depending on strain. And then let's talk about the fact that ducks consume, from a water standpoint, a 4-to-1 ratio of water to feed. They're waterfowl, after all. They drink a lot of water. That's part of the process. That's a significant resource. Now let's fast forward to today. We're looking at anywhere from a market weight bird, 30 to 35 days at the maximum end, as far as getting to market weight. That's cut in half.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane. And that's all just based on the strain.
Yeah.
Of being able to, wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then let's talk about the feed conversion now. You're talking anywhere from 1.5 to 1.75 today.
That's great.
And then you want to
talk
talk
amount of feed.
Yeah, the amount of feed.
That they're
so
getting to that market
less
weight.
Feed, less days.
So in other words, instead of eating 3 pounds or 3.5 pounds for 1 pound of gain, they're only eating 1.5 to 1.75 pounds to get that pound of gain now.
That's so great. Okay.
Wow.
Because they've become that efficient.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned the water, 4-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So you're talking for every 3 pound difference right there, or 2 to 3 pounds. I mean, you are literally significantly reducing your water usage too. I mean, that's real sustainability right there. That's the thing that I think farmers in general, we have done such a terrible job of telling our story, our sustainability story over the years, because we have reduced incredibly the amount of resources that we've used over the years. It's incredible what we've been able to accomplish. And that then financial sustainability, it equates to millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of savings right there, because we're doing more with less.
Yeah. That's wow. So, and this is like, again, without getting like too deep in the weeds, I don't want this to go over because I know like our head listeners, but like how does the strain like affect that? Like, what is it about that?
So the difference is that there are different types of ducks. Like some of them are better suited for other things, right? So some might be more so meant for egg laying.
Okay.
Some might be more so like a larger body type, right? So they might have a larger leg situation as opposed to a larger breast meat situation. Okay. And those tend to be more like your Asian style ducks or something like that. If we were to do what's called a HOFO, a head-on feed-on duck.
Okay.
The Asian markets really enjoy those. We haven't done those for a little bit. We're mostly focused on whole body these days, which is, your standard, look at it in the store. It doesn't have the head, doesn't have the feet,
Okay.
Awesome.
So it just depends on what you're looking at.
I think what Mason is asking though is, it sounds like the ducks are getting smarter.
Yeah.
Will they ever take over the world? Like, is this a AI situation with ducks?
I mean, this is what I will say about this. Like chickens and turkeys. I've worked with chickens, turkeys, ducks, and in school, and ducks are smart. Is all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
They are smart.
Okay.
Like turkeys are wily. Chickens are just a little crazy. I'm just going to be honest. But,
They're the wild card.
They're just kind of like, well, whatever, But no, who are we kidding? There's a reason. Like I focus on poultry science, right? That was my big thing. So I do like poultry in general, but like you go into a turkey barn and they're like charging you. They're like coming at you, like, let's go. What's up? And you're like, you get some of these toms that are like, they're like 60, 70 pounds sometimes easily, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this guy knocks me over. Am I done for? Just no, but ducks are incredibly smart. So yeah, who knows? They might, maybe they do. I mean, what's that show coming out? The Swarm here soon. Oh my gosh, like are we gonna have the Flock here soon or something?
Yeah.
Coming.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of white ducks coming down the road at us.
Yes.
That was wild.
Wow. So obviously, I mean, in 1958, Long Island, New York, corporate sustainability was not a thing, right? So this is a newer initiative, something that corporations are expanding, introducing more and more. You've been with the company for about 10 years, is that right?
Yeah, almost 11 now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so talk to us about just the evolution of kind of how you ramped into this role, and then just some of the things that get you excited about it.
So kind of how I ramped into this role is, in my previous stint, because one thing I've been doing is as I'm trying to learn the business, I've been doing rotations in various areas of the business. So whether that be, live production, that was my background. So I spent a little bit longer time there, QA, and then just recently finished in HR. So I did close to 2 years in both QA and HR. But
Okay.
HR was the one where we started kind of thinking about this a little bit more. Because I'm thinking about things, with looking at retention and whatnot. Like, what can we do? What can we improve? And the problem is I think the way the structure was set up and where the world's going, that there needs to be a bigger emphasis, particularly on not just sustainability, but on the corporate social responsibility side of things. That was the big thing that we were looking at, as well, beyond sustainability. Because we've had a sustainability program over the years. We've reported on certain things. I would say we've focused on some of that actually longer than some other companies, but we haven't formalized it in a way that it's integrated within that corporate social side of things, right?
Yeah.
It's not the community piece or the industry piece that a lot of these places are doing now. Whether you see your Tyson's, Purdue's, they've got some really nice, literature / presentations that you can see, and they've got some, really telling a nice story, right? So check them out. The stories, they are nice stories. They are. So while I was in there, though, in HR, one of the things that, because my thing is, I've got a heart for people, right? And that was a nice thing about being in HR, is I got to really interact with our people a lot. And but I realized that based upon where I was at, I was not getting the top down, support I needed, right, to really implement some change that was necessary, that I saw or felt was necessary within the company, and whether that, I felt like this could influence any number of things, not only retention, but also it could influence just overall financial performance, as we talk about, if people are loyal to you, they are going to want to work for you, because they at that point they're like, we belong here. We want to do this. This is part of our, this is part of, we're the team, right?
Yeah.
So there was that aspect, and I said, well, is there a way we can look at improving, like in this regard. Like I really think we're missing the ball here in regards to our people not getting the support that they need beyond just the financial side, beyond just some of the, because I feel like we have pretty strong benefits in many regards, but are we missing the mark on certain areas that could really be instrumental in terms of people feeling the difference between just feel like, oh, I'm a Maple Leaf employee versus I'm a Maple Leaf team member. This is my family outside of my family. Like that's what I want to see people feel like eventually, is like, hey, Maple Leaf is part of my is like my secondary family.
Yeah.
I want that. Like that's the culture I want to build.
Sense of home.
So that's kind of how it happened, right? Is we saw this opportunity. I talked with my dad. I talked with Scott Reinhold, who is our current CEO, and we started talking about it. And we said, this really does have some weight to it as far as what we can do, especially considering all the things going on in not just our industry, but in business as a whole. As we look at some of these ESG things and whatnot, we said, well, can we start to look at this a little bit, more, and so it kind of snowballed from there, and this is kind of where we're at. So I'm still in the process, believe it or not, of really developing this program, because it's brand new to us. That's the thing. It's really neat being able to like just build something from the ground up within the company, and you're like, oh, okay, like I can just pick the team I want right here. You're saying like, I get to, I get the, my committee, I get my team that is going to be like my all-star team. This is the dream team, right? Like I can do it. And we're not going to the Olympics, but
I love it.
But that's cool. I mean, a sense of entrepreneurial spirit of building something inside of an established company.
Yeah. And that's, you're right. That entrepreneurial spirit within a company, I think is another thing that I think about as well, is how do we empower our people to have that mindset as well? Because I want people to speak up. I want people, hey, how do you feel about me? Tell like, do you think I'm just full of it, what I'm saying here right now, or do you want to come along with me and can I prove you wrong, right? That's that type of situation. I want people to be honest. I want people to feel like they have the ability to say, hey, I think we could do this better, instead of just being like, oh, it's the managers making the decisions or whatnot. Oh, no. Like, why are we not trusting our boots on the ground, the people who are closest to things? I would tell anyone, if someone was like, higher up saying, my responsibility is to get ducks out the door and everything, like, well, you're a manager or beyond. No. Like you're here to support the people within this, ultimately it's your area that does that. But the true responsibility lies within those individuals who are touching the product, who are packing the product, who are loading it on the truck. That's their responsibility at the end of the day, not your direct responsibility. So
just thinking through and trying to understand and put myself like in your shoes, like what does your day look like, and trying to like, you're thinking about some of these global, like the impact of your company. Because we had the opportunity to come up, tour Maple Leaf. Incredible facility. Love what you guys have done. Like the old elementary school, like that's an incredible story in itself that I would love to be able to dive into and hear. But it was the realization of like, there's so many companies that you guys have and the touch points that you have all across the world, of like that it's not just Maple Leaf Farms, but you have all these other brands. Can you just give us, and our listeners, a little bit of a scope and the scale
as far as our
Leaf
brands and as far as where we're touching? So we're exporting to somewhere between like 38 and 40 different countries right now.
Wow.
And that's various products, whether that be whole body duck, whether that be boneless duck breast, so on and so forth. Legs, roast half duck, that's one to become one of our flagship products, which is fully cooked product. So there's a lot of coverage we've done, in terms of duck, right? Like that's what's really been amazing over the years, is what we've done with it, where we've essentially had to create markets almost on some of these products. Like the roast half duck was one of those, where there was not a single fully cooked option out there back in late 70s, early 80s, right? So not a single option. And because most of the people out there using duck were chefs and they wanted to break it down themselves. Well, we've developed this situation where it is more easily accessible at home. So, but as far as brands are concerned, so Maple Leaf Farms is our flagship brand. Like that is the parent company. From there, we have an international company called MLF Indux, or Indux as a whole. So Indux, I know we always have to add duck in some regard, it seems like, but that is our kind of technical support and genetic sales program.
Okay.
So, we not only are we a producer of duck product, but we're also a breeding company. Not just are we doing it for ourselves, but we're also taking our ducks and selling them to other companies throughout the world. So,
Wow. Okay.
So that is another thing that's important. So we can actually impact other companies' efficiencies in that regard, and we can reduce not just in our backyard in this country, because we have several customers here in this country as well, but also go to like England or Germany, Poland, Hungary, like a number of places. One of the other sides of it all, and let's talk about sustainability again. Like, how are we utilizing our resources, and how are we utilizing even our waste?
Mhm.
Feathers are a concern in the poultry industry, at least for the chickens and turkeys, because they don't have a lot of value to them. It used to be you could make feather meal where you could grind it down and you could get like a nice methionine amino acid supplement from it with feather meal. They don't even really want to allow that anymore, in very few countries even, because there are concerns of the birds eating pieces of birds. There's concern there. Yeah, absolutely. Now, what we do though, we have a benefit being a waterfowl. So if you want to know some of the biology, unlike chickens and turkeys that lose their down feathers, we don't lose our down feathers. We keep down feathers through their lives, and that's why you can see them out on lakes in the middle of the winter. Like in terms of their feet, they really don't have the receptors, the cold receptors so that they're out there just paddling around in freezing water. But so the feathers, right? So we actually have three feather companies. There is Eurasia Feather Co.
Okay.
And so that's more of like a broker and or a distributor of feathers. So that one, I'll tell you a little bit about some of that in just a second. But we have Down Incorporated. That is a finished goods operation. So that's like high end. We've been selling to people like Casper, Crate and Barrel, people like that in terms of our down products, comforters, pillows. And Lake Michigan Feather Co. That's actually down in Mexico City. That one is similar. That is a finished goods as well, but we're looking at transitioning that a little bit, and how can we vertically integrate the whole process and say, oh, can this be a cut and sew operation down in Mexico? And say, oh, this is doing all of our shells, this is doing all of our inputs, and then we bring it up to Michigan and Grand Rapids, which is where Eurasia and Down Inc. are, and then let's finish them there. So we've got a few other entities, currently a China entity as well that that we have locations, operations over there too.
Wow. It's impressive, like the global reach and impact coming out of Leesburg, Indiana.
Seriously.
Little Leesburg.
Seriously. No, and that's what stood out to me as we toured your facility of, obviously we are famously the orthopedic capital of the world, and orthopedic gets a lot of the credit, and it's walking through your facility of like, hold on a second. There is a global company here that, people know Maple Leaf, but I think understanding and unpacking that scope was really, really impressive.
Hey, you got to appreciate the orthopedic companies. They've done quite a bit for the community.
Absolutely.
They have over the years, and I got plenty of friends who are in it or have been in it, and so it's definitely part of our community legacy as well. So, but I like to think that we're also a very important part of that legacy too. So it's appreciate you guys saying that.
So as you are, again, on the beginnings of this role, and you are developing vision for what it means to create more and more sustainability, what excites you about the future? Like, what are you seeing in the next 5 years, the next 10 years?
I think one thing for sure is, we're going to see bigger pushes, one on automation. You're going to see that for sure. And I want to break down the misconception that automation means people are losing jobs, right? Like that is a misconception, because what you're doing is you're transforming certain jobs into even more skilled jobs. And the idea is we want to be able to invest in our people and be able to bring them up to speed to that level where, you know, they're not just on the line anymore, but they're able to manage setting up those machines, getting them up and running the way they need to, because what it does is it gives it, you know, they're still going to be working, but guess what? They're doing this position that is not just a repetitive nature.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you want to talk about health wise, you know, there are implications there, certainly, you know, in terms of, you know, we appreciate what they do, but yeah, you have a better quality position, in my opinion, at that point.
Yeah.
So certainly, you know, we'll continue to look at how we can improve in those areas. And again, that comes with the sustainability, those efficiencies side. How are we doing more with less? You know, one of the things, so that's the more sustainability side in terms of the processing plants. And now I think about kind of the social side of things. You know, how I mentioned, how can we be better partners to our people? So what does that look like? You know, any number of organizations in the community that we might be tied to in some regard, or we have people within the organization who utilize those facilities. Like I mentioned, Joe's Kids earlier. BYC is another perfect example. I'm thinking about maximum impact. There's so many studies, for example, on the kids, right? If you can get early intervention with children, whether that's therapy, whether that is providing a safe space for them to, you know, just be kids, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? It shows they excel, you know, the quicker you get them there, right?
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
that maximum impact, how can we do that, right? Supporting those types of organizations, but then also supporting our people through that, right? That's the key. Is I want to make sure that we are covering our people and the community at the same time. Another thing that you know, and who knows if HR wants me to talk about this or not. You know, they're probably like, you shouldn't have said that. But at some point down the road, what we're hoping to do is, you know, build an on-site clinic for our people, right? Like I think long term, maybe within the next 5 years, I'm hoping build an on-site clinic. You know, be able to get, you know, a nurse practitioner or something, someone of that nature in that can see our patients see our people,
Right.
you know, and can provide medical care on site. And not only that, but also have it available to all the families of our people as well. And so, you know, we'd be able to provide, one, they're getting all the care there. It's not coming out of their pocket. We're covering that. Two, meds, your standard meds, right? Those are not coming out of pocket. Those are coming through us, right? All those things, right? How can we focus on healthy people, keeping our people healthy? How can we take care of our people's families? And, you know, and financially, how can they be financially taken care of better in that regard? Because it's not just the salary, it's not just the wage at the end of the day. It's important. It certainly is.
Yeah.
But how can we provide other benefits that also minimize that financial impact to them?
For sure.
So
yeah. And I just think of the ripples that then that has through the community. It's like you get the employee, you care for the family cares for the community. Like it's just so cool. I love what you guys are doing.
Try and lead by example, I guess, in that regard, you know, because it's I think unfortunately the corporate world, and I'll be honest, we've probably fallen short plenty of times there too, where we just haven't thought about our people as much as we probably should have, you know, in terms of they're the reason why we're successful, right? Like without our people, what do we have? We don't have it. You know, it crumbles. So I want our people to know that absolutely without them, like we don't have Maple Leaf. You know, we don't. So
yeah, I love the heart that you have just for people and the community. I love what you guys have going on right now. So as a fourth generation family member, how do you want Maple Leaf Farms to be remembered in terms of your commitment, not only to the environment, but to your community?
You know, I certainly want people to think that, hey, like we're trying to be role models as far as an ag company is concerned. We're trying to always reduce waste, how are we trying to minimize environmental impact? Like the one thing I'll quote, and this has been quoted to me by, any number of people within our our operations side, the processing side, is, on any given day, we probably do 40, on average 40 to 45,000, maybe 35 to 45,000, somewhere in there. It just depends on the day, of ducks a day. Wow. In that time, as far as what we do, we probably only have maybe 1,000 or so pounds worth of waste. Considering of those 40-some thousand,
yeah,
they're weighing 6.25 to 7 pounds each.
Okay.
Because in some way, shape, or form, the waste is getting used in some way, shape, or form. It could be rendered down in some way, shape, or form, utilized for like pet foods, things like that. Feathers being utilized for anything from pillows, comforters, garment industry, right? I know we've tried to worked with like Patagonia over the years to an extent. You want to talk about a situation? I spent 6 months auditing every single one of our facilities with an outside auditor from NSF, and that was quite the project. But that was what it took to be a part of their traceable down standard at the time. And now we're working towards the recyclable down standard.
Okay.
Right now, I believe. So I'd have to talk with them. But.
So okay, I'm not amazing at math. I was told there'd be no math, but you're saying every day 180,000, 240,000 plus pounds of duck being processed, 1,000 pounds of waste.
Typically only like 1,000 some pounds of waste.
Yeah,
really,
that's amazing.
Is what I've been quoted. Now, again, that's what I've been quoted.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Caveat. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
We'll apply some grace to those numbers, but
so
assuming that you're close, that's pretty impressive.
Because that has been one thing, and you want to talk about this goes back. You want to talk about the sustainability right there, and you want to talk about a legacy of that. This is a phrase my grandpa coined back in, honestly, I think it was the 70s or 80s, early 80s. And he said, we use everything but the quack. We use everything but the quack. Well, guess what? I mentioned that like the rendering process and those sort of things. Well, we're selling the voice boxes now, and like all those entrails. So we are using the quack now when you think about it. So we are selling the quack. So it is one of those things, right? It's that is what we're about. We're trying to use everything that we can on that bird. And so it's that important to us, and it has been part of our legacy for 40, 50 years easily, just that quote alone, right? And then, trying to find better ways to do things has always been a part of our legacy as a company.
Man, Zach, this has been awesome. Yeah. And as we wrap this up, again, just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
And it's been fun.
Love what you're doing. Love your heart for people, your passion. It's been a privilege to get to know you. And like you said, we all have our unique stories. So getting to connect with your story has been awesome. So as we wrap up, what are ways listeners can connect with Maple Leaf and maybe even some of the sustainability initiatives that you are putting out there?
So, connect with us on any number of the social medias, whether that, you could be anything from LinkedIn to Instagram, Facebook, or even TikTok. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok. That's after my time personally. Like I feel like I want to watch a little bit longer of a video than
sure.
Anyway, no, any number of those things. Sorry, TikTok.
They're doing okay.
So any of those things. As far as sustainability is concerned, with COVID, we used to try and release an annual sustainability report. My plan is to revamp that. So hopefully next year, probably end of Q1. I'm hoping to have a report for 2023, and I want to expand that report beyond just sustainability. I want that to kind of be more the company report. Again, stories. Like, what's our story? How are we telling it? What was our year in review as a whole, not just the sustainability side of it all.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Zach, thanks again. Everybody connect with Zach on social media, Maple Leaf Farms. Appreciate your time. And we look forward to catching everybody next episode of Stories That Move. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Stories That Move, brought to you by DreamOn Studios.
Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode. And remember, if you or your organization have a story you're eager to share with the world, DreamOn Studios is here to bring that story to life.
Don't hesitate to reach out. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or visit our website at dreamonstudios.io. We understand how overwhelming it can be trying to bring your vision and story to life, but that's why we exist, and we've walked alongside hundreds of clients doing that very thing.
Yeah. We believe every story has the potential to inspire, to move, and to make a difference. Let's make yours heard.
Until next time, keep moving forward and keep telling those stories that matter.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time on Stories That Move.